Hello, welcome back to another episode of Vulnerable Voices. We want to thank you for listening to our final episode entitled Hustle and Flow. Remember, Vulnerable Voices is a weekly podcast hosted by EJA from Dallas, Texas, and Doc Miller from Albany, New York. Two leaders in education coming together every Wednesday for a very entertaining podcast. This is our last and final episode for season 1, The Leadership Journey. We have had an awesome time and we look forward to having more conversations coming up very soon in season 2. Today's episode, Hustle and Flow, we're going to be discussing leading while Black. We're going to talk about the challenges Black leaders face from both the male and the female perspective. And so let's go ahead and jump right on in, Dr. Miller. If you don't mind, let's start with a quote. You know, I love the quotes.
Okay.
So I was reading Fortune magazine, came across an exceptional article about beating the odds. It was the perspective of Black women in major leadership positions. And one senior executive of a financial firm, she says, "I think the experience of being Black in America creates resilience. A steady steadiness." I'm going to read that again. I love that part. A steady steadiness. And it creates courage and pride. Not pride in a boastful way, but being proud. As you need to be in moments when you feel completely rejected, completely ignored, overlooked, and sidelined. And I just thought that was powerful because that just truly encompasses the Black leadership journey. What are your thoughts about that, Paul?
Well, I definitely think with leadership and being a Black male in leadership can be very difficult, very challenging. And I'm gonna argue this, and you're not gonna like it, but I think it's easier to, I believe at this point in time, today, it's easier to get selected as a leader as a Black female than it is a Black man. And I do. I think when you look at a lot of superintendents around the country who are being selected, there's especially in the South, there's a lot of Black females who are being selected. Now, I would say, if I had to put an order to it, I'd say first, white males usually are the easiest, and then it would be a white female after that, and then a Black female, and then a Black male. And I just think women are winning right now, and I think with gender equality, I also think that with everything that's going on, I think a lot of times organizations are looking for that female perspective, and I'm talking about more schools right now, not necessarily corporate America, but educational America. So they're looking for that female perspective. They're looking for that Black female perspective, and I think the males, I still want to say that we're an endangered species, and that people fear a strong Black male. I have had white staff that I have heard that they have quoted saying that if he was a white male, I would listen to him. And
these are people that work for you?
It is what it is. But yes, either they have, or they did work for me, or they are. There might even be a few who still currently around. And I can't. You can't always pinpoint exactly who said it, even though the rumor mills. Right. So you don't remove people for rumors, but you know how people feel in their heart, and all you do is just keep proving them wrong.
That's what you do. So taking your point, I'm always going back to the facts and the data. Let me see the numbers.
Hmm.
And just I'm thinking of a visual representation. As you know, we travel all throughout the school year. We go to different
Hmm.
conferences, conventions, etc., what have you. Oftentimes, I'm at these major events with leaders in education, and I intentionally take a step back and scope the room,
Hmm.
and you don't see very many Black females in those crowds. Now, what you will see,
True.
like you said earlier, lots of white males. And then, secondly, I would say relatively equal would be the number of Black males and the number of white females. But the Black female in a major position in education, it's not where it needs to be. Is it getting better? I think it
Right.
is, with all these things that are going on. Black women in power. You see more of our faces, but I don't know, Paul. It's tough being a Black woman leading the way, because oftentimes you're accused of being too strong, domineering, controlling, the angry Black woman. And unfortunately, that's a label that we have. And so we have to learn how to be visible but invisible at the same time. And I don't know, and I wanted to ask you, that is that a narrative that Black male leaders face? We can't be too loud at times, but then there are times where we are expected to be the voice in the room. Do you see the same thing? Do you feel you have to be invisible at times?
I think there's similarities, but I wouldn't say it's exactly the same. I think the items that you need to be careful about may be a little bit differently. So I can't be too aggressive, right? Or I might not be able to be too loud, or I can't be too forward. I have to I can't necessarily say exactly what's on my mind, because it may be perceived as, he's reverting back to his earlier days in life, or this is not the hood, and I've heard things like that as well. And so, as you go through, I believe you learn and you grow. But I think the challenge is, there's similarities, but I think they may be a little bit different, because I think the perceptions are different. Um, and I think that what I found is that white women's tears rule
Mm,
everything. So the tears of white women, whether it's in leadership or as in faculty and staff, man, don't let a white woman cry, because good Lord, she start crying and everybody want to know what's wrong and how can we change it and how can we fix it. And she might not even be right, but people start hopping off. And and don't be the person that they think that you made her cry.
mm,
And not that you made her cry, that you actually did something to her, but for whatever reason, the situation or the scenario hurt her feelings. Because the minute they feel that way, now you have a whole new problem on your hands. Now you have an uprising. You have people who are convening against you, because you don't make the white woman cry.
wow.
And so white women tears are very powerful. And so it's I just think the experience it's a little bit different, but I'm sure there's some similarities.
Agree, basically, because I have no idea how it feels to be a Black man in leadership, right? But
Right.
that's definitely something that we have to deal with, is just being invisible at times.
No, you don't, unless there's something you want to tell me.
No, sir, I have no clue. I cannot help it there.
Just stand up. Stand
I
up.
can't help you.
See,
If you don't know, there's no question.
not, okay.
Yes.
So, so I know as we were discussing that, I think some of it is talking about also is the resilience of it all, because I think we have to hustle harder and flow better to be able to achieve success and to get to a high level within. So it's like you have to outwork people and you have to outsmart people and you have to be that much better. I remember times where going through, and I remember where I was selected for. Again, I was selected for jobs. I think there was a time there was about 300 candidates for a job, and I've made it to the top five. I believe they interviewed the top five people. I remember getting a call from the school-based planning team, and the school-based planning team, they weren't supposed to call me, but they said, after the interview, you were amazing. I want you. We want you. You're our guy. You're our next principal. Can't wait for you to start. And then 2 days later, I found out that the current superintendent at the time put a white lady in the job. And so what was interesting about that is I had to navigate and figure out why. And so what did I do? What was wrong? And it wasn't anything to do with me. I found out that it was another white lady who was my supervisor at the time was saying or doing things that weren't so favorable, that to kind of keep me stuck in the position that I was at. And I had to figure that out, and I had to digest that, and I had to handle that, and I had to still work with that person because I couldn't just walk away from having an income for my family. So how do I deal with that and continue to be successful? And that was a difficult situation. Have you had any challenging situations where you were on your way, where you've had to hustle harder and flow better and still it didn't work out the way you wanted it to?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think the hustle and flow piece is just part of our culture. I think that we've been trained at an early age that you have to go above and beyond because you are a person of color. What works for your white counterpart will not work for you. You must strive to be excellent, right, in everything you do. So, absolutely, working, I know currently I can go to a location and other people with on my same level in an organization come in at a certain time, leave by 5. Well, it's not that I can't leave by 5, but I know that it's better for me to stay late and go above and beyond, get a couple steps ahead, because that's what will be recognized. Me just doing my regular job is not often recognized, even though my white counterparts maybe get recognition, higher pay, higher position just for doing their job. But that gratitude is not given to me unless I'm going above and beyond. And so I know that we've talked about this on a previous podcast. There is a sense of urgency in our culture, especially for those of us who are striving to be great. It's natural for us to want to present ourselves in a way that's going to be accepted by white society, and then work harder than our neighbor because we know that's the only way that we're going to get some appreciation and hopefully get a promotion or a raise.
Yeah, I understand. I get it. I mean, there was times where I think I was looked at as the dumb jock or the dumb athlete, and just because I was a physical education teacher, oh, you don't know instruction or you don't know this. So I had to work even harder to learn it. So I had to work and prove that I understood it, that I understood instruction backwards and forwards to kind of get rid of that stigmatism. I also had, again, and not that I'm picking on white women, because
don't pick on white women,
but my experiences where I've had white women. No, but I'm telling you that I've had white women directly tell me that basically that I wasn't smart enough, that I wasn't going to be able to get my doctorate. Why are you doing that? And that, and put me in positions to almost set up to fail. So for me, there was motivation in that. And so the motivation came instead of me being angry or wanting to say something hurtful or disrespectful to them. My motivation became internal, where your words are not going to stop me. I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to reach heights that would be insurmountable to where you're at. And I'm going to show you that I can do this and then some up and beyond. And so that was motivation and fuel. Every time I didn't want to finish that dissertation, or every time I didn't want to do
That
this
was
or
your
that,
motivation.
that was my motivation. I looked it square in the face and I did what I had to do. And, that's my encouragement for people who are out there, who are looking for leadership roles. And even though, yes, we might have to hustle harder and flow better, we have to, we got to make sure that we are in it to win it. We got to make sure that we do those things to get where you need to go to the top. Like, don't be complacent. I think complacency is the root of all evil. And so as a minority, and I'm thinking about this, and I'll throw this out there, because there's a big thing about wanting, black teachers teaching black kids, meaning that, when you're looking for teachers, you want teachers that look like your kids and making those connections. But I would argue that if you get a bad black teacher is worse than a bad white teacher for our black kids. And because you're destroying their view of who they think that you are. And that's that complacency set. And
I agree
what do you think about that? How do you feel about that?
I think your teaching population should reflect your student population. I believe in that 100%. But I also do believe that just because you're black doesn't mean that's going to make you a great teacher for black children, right? So that goes back to the conversation we had in another episode, the difference in the leadership style, because you do have teachers of color that treat children of color in a terrible way. And those teachers need to go, period. Black, white does not matter. And I think we have a responsibility to help our children understand that this is the society that they are going to face, but give them the skills to be able to handle the challenges that they're up against. I mean, it's not fair for them if we're not setting them up for success and letting them know that this is how it is and this is what you're going to face. But you too can get through this. You too can get over this. But you can't be complacent, like you were saying. There's a method. And that brings me to the code switch situation. We have to teach children what it is to code switch. I always say you should be able to speak in the White House and the crack house. You have to be able, as a person of color, particularly a black person, to code switch, go into multiple situations and still fit in. Going back to the concept of being visible and invisible.
Right. And I think what other people need to understand is that your privilege makes it so you don't have to do that. And so we are not always as privileged. And so not being as privileged means that we have to learn how to place ourselves in these situations where we can be successful. And I tell, from the block to the boardroom, I say the same things of trying to get kids to understand that it's a different circumstance for a different place. And it's about still being true to who you are. So how can you be true to who you are, but still be able to handle yourself in different situations? And it's the same thing within the leaderships. You got to be able to get down and meet that student eye to eye. But same thing with the staff member. and be able to switch back and forth, but then also on a level different, a political level or different executive levels. You got to be able to speak within that level and understand the culture, but it's about the education and educating yourself to be able to do it, understanding and being okay with doing it. See, a lot of people aren't okay with doing it, and they think, oh, I'm selling my out, telling you to stop being who you are, but just being a better you for the situation.
Absolutely. Well said, Paul. I agree 100%. And I think that leads us to our final point, the impact of relationships. I don't know, and you'll have to help me, but I don't know of any great Black leader, male or female, that did not have a powerful white person supporting them in America. That's the world we live in. And so being able to have relationships, build relationships, so that people can truly understand who you are outside of your color, to then invest in you so that you can become an avenue and an advocate for the kids and the staff that you serve.
And you know what? I think those relationships always start with trust and competency.
Absolutely.
So you know, you build these trustful relationships, but a lot of times the way that you build the relationship is by showing people that you're competent, you know, and that you're going to make the right decisions. And so they start to believe in you, they start to trust you, and now you step down walls and you start to remove barriers by doing so. And so that's how you begin to believe that relationships for all our leaders out there who are aspiring, who want to do something and want to be in a great space. It's about how do you build that relationship? How do you build the trust that's necessary to move forward? And it's going to start with your actions, and that you're walking in your actions, and that you're talking in the same way that you're moving.
Agreed. And I think to close our final episode, we've been talking for 6 weeks now, and the one thing that comes out of all of our episodes, Paul, is the value of a leader and the importance of trust, consistency, and love. And so my word to our listeners is, if you're in a leadership position, and all of us are, trust, be consistent, and make decisions based on love. And that's how you lead. Paul, you want to take us out?
Yeah, you know, I think I leave people with hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So you could be the most talented person and gonna work hard, you're not going to get anywhere. So I might not be the smartest person in the room, but I will outwork anybody. Mm-hmm. And so it's about hard work, and so getting to where you want to be is about how do you outwork people? How do you unfortunately prove your worth? And it's with your actions. So have your actions meet that fork in the road with your worth, and people will see that you are who you say you are, and be that person. And you know, I just will encourage people to go after their dreams, to live every possibility, and to do everything that they can do, regardless of who says you can and can't do. You can make it to the top. You can get there. You can be who you want to be if you believe that you could achieve it. And so with that being said, I want to thank everybody for listening these past 6 weeks. You know, we want to get you to like and subscribe at Vulnerable Voices. Once you do that, we are going to come back with another season, season 2. So stay tuned. But we want to give the people what they want. So we want to see that you want it. So, you know, make us feel wanted. And we will be back for some more. And we thank everybody for listening and staying with us these past 6 episodes. We hope that they've been eventful, that you learned something, that you listened, that you might even laughed a time or two. And so we appreciate you, and we can't wait for season 2 to get bigger and better.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paul.
Uh,
It's been
all right.
real.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you.
Peace.